I'm here today with Hooman Shahidi, who is the president and co-founder of EVPassport. How you doing today, Hooman?
I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you here. We have a lot of different guests, but a lot of our conversation has been how to recover, looking back, maybe talent. Not a lot has been about what's coming next or what's already here. So I'm very excited to have you. I'd love to start by having you tell us a little bit about EVPassport so that we can level set, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, you bet. We started the company with really a simple question in mind, which is how do we make electric vehicle charging easier than getting gas? And my co-founders and I, we come from the technology space, and we were not energy people. We're not basically focused on the hardware. We're focused on innovation, and we're focused on delivering a seamless and frictionless experience. And the marriage between what we're doing and verticalizing part of our platform for hospitality has been just so great.
That sounds awesome. So at a base level, EVPassport, is this hardware? Is this software? What is the product right now?
Yeah, so EV Passport is an electric vehicle charging platform. So it includes both the hardware, the software, and the connectivity delivered at a very seamless package, right? And we've prided ourselves on the fact that we've removed the economic and technological barriers for everybody, really, to be able to deploy these chargers. And a lot of what we think about and how we innovate both on the product side and both business innovation is it's really easy to make things complicated. It's really difficult to make things simple. We're proud of the fact that we've simplified this entire process.
Well, I think you just got a lot of people to perk up here, right? Because technology has always been there's been several barriers surrounding that. The financial impact, especially around EV and kind of the rise and where that's going, has always been prohibitive. I think that a lot of people are really looking to understand, you know, when you say this is cost effective, when you say there's few technology barriers, what are we talking about here? I mean, I know when I ran a hotel, several hotels, we installed these, and it was, could I find a grant from the city because it cost me more than a Tesla to install one of these things? Where is your technology at right now? Just to give people a baseline.
Yeah. Do you have an iPhone by chance, Chris?
I do.
Great. So you can buy one of our 7 kilowatt chargers, right? So we have made it so affordable for people to deploy our chargers and our platform, right? We've, like I said, we've removed those economic barriers and the technological ones because what we're really focused on is utilization. We're focused on delivering that signature guest experience that's so critical in this space and making sure that people actually use these and use it as a moment to drive people to the property. So for us, having ridiculous numbers tied to the procurement of a single charger, that's not the business we're in. We're designed to make it really easy for hoteliers and the team that runs each property to deploy these chargers.
That's outstanding. So when you talk, I'll have to tell you, I'm sure not everybody here has, or not everybody listening has an electric vehicle. So when you talk about an experience around charging, what kind of experience is that? What are you providing there?
Yeah, we recently just launched Hotel Cloud. We are verticalizing our value offering for each of the respective industries that we participate in, from hospitality to commercial workplace to multi-unit dwellings to entertainment to fleets and beyond. And what we're doing is we're saying there are unique features and benefits that are critical to the guest experience, right? Something as simple as being able to arrive at the charger and not having all these barriers. So when you arrive at one of our chargers, chances are you've discovered it on one of the map engines, which we naturally integrate with Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze, PlugShare, or perhaps maybe you found it in the map engine of your vehicle, whether it's a GM or a Volvo or a Polestar, even Tesla, right? So you arrive there and what do? Well, there are not, there are no real complicated barriers. There's just a scanning of the QR code, microsite pops up, integrates with Google Pay, Apple Pay, or if you're really old fashioned, you can put in your credit card and you're off to the races. But for the hotel, if you're a guest, there's a chance that you want an even simpler process. Well, with Hotel Cloud accompanying our hardware, you're able to just put in your room number and bill it back to your room just like you would do with Wi-Fi. It's a seamless experience.
So, if I'm thinking small scale right now and I'm a country club owner, I could, for the price of a handful of iPhones, have a handful of EV chargers. Not only that, but have an actual experience to be able to provide to our owners, to our guests on a smaller scale. This isn't something that's just reserved for large bulk orders and large bulk clients, is it?
No, it's each one of our chargers, like you said, is, for example, the 7 kilowatt is quite literally cheaper than an iPhone. So the cost of deploying a single charger is relatively low. Obviously, we want to look at the infrastructure and things like that. There's always, you know, precautions and prerequisites. I mean, you can imagine a bed and breakfast that took over an old Victorian house from the 1800s, a little more challenging than a property that was built in 1985, right? So for us, again, we want to deliver a seamless customer success focused process. In fact, customer success is our lifeblood. We're so proud of the customer success strategy that we take with all our existing customers and our future prospective ones. And a lot of the strategy for customer success for us came from the hospitality industry. We've really noticed how impactful that is. Little things that go a long way that deliver a lifelong attitude of loyalty. And that's the kind of culture that we want to create.
That's outstanding. I think right now there are obviously a lot of concepts flying around in the hospitality industries. It's literally reinventing itself every day right now. One that comes up a lot is value proposition, and the other is obviously additional streams of revenue. So, from a value proposition perspective, I mean, if I'm a chain hotel or if I'm a large chain and I've got literally thousands of hotels around the country, this is something where I can say, hey, look, we are, this is an added value you're going to get. Not only is it an added value, it's an experience. I mean, is that what you're hearing right now? Or is that what you're seeing in the field?
Totally. We think that the modern guest is going to look at this as a necessary component of their travel. I mean, just like if you were to look at, does a hotel have Wi-Fi? Does the hotel have parking? Is it valet? You're gonna look for a charger, right? Especially if you're traveling there. Whether you're driving there on a nice road trip with your family, or whether you're on business and you swing by Hertz or Six rental car to get an electric car, you're gonna need to charge it there, right? So it's critical that you have the charger. And for hoteliers, this is a great moment to realize this is a massive revenue stream. This is something that didn't exist before. You look at your parking lot and you see this beautiful sea of opportunity, right? Where now you can see a major revenue stream coming in from your guests charging, but it's also a great moment to drive new guests. TripAdvisor was born out of driving people, figuratively and literally, to a property. And we're doing that naturally because we're putting the EV charging stations onto those map engines, and we're saying Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, Choice, Radisson, whatever it is. It could be even casinos when we have wonderful casinos as customers. And you can get people to come through those doors. Just doesn't have to be around spending a night. There's wonderful restaurants there's bars there are other amenities, or maybe it's just a corporate event. But because of the fact that you have an electric vehicle charger and it's a delightful experience, it's seamless, where it doesn't have any complications, you have another reason to drive further revenue, which is what really this is all about, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we want to make sure this necessary infrastructure has the math that works in favor of the site hosts and the asset holders.
So I'm going through here, right? I'm going through here as an asset manager, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, barrier entry cost, check. Sounds good, right? From a revenue generating perspective, absolutely. Value proposition, absolutely. The next thing that always comes up is, integration, right? You may have the most amazing system ever, but will it talk to my system? Have you had success on the integration side, and how's that going?
Absolutely. In fact, we're the only open API charging network out there, which means that
Wow.
we have natural integrations with hotel experience platforms. I mean, there's so many different ones, POS systems, facilities management solutions, parking access revenue control systems. I mean, the whole focus is to integrate this necessary piece of infrastructure into the broader hotel enterprise so that it's a seamless experience for your guests. And more importantly, obviously we're in such a unique time where the hotel staff, they're stretched thin. There's a lot going on. There's so many components of their day that wasn't always there before. We don't want to create another headache for them, which is why our platform, our EV charging solution, is really designed to take the burden off, right? We don't want someone to show up to the front desk and saying, this thing doesn't work. And I'll tell you why that's such an important point to note. Because every one of our charging stations, it has a 90-second heartbeat and it phones home to our headquarters in Los Angeles. And Chris, it's not because we miss the chargers, maybe a little, but it's because we take a proactive approach to service and support. We want to make sure that every 90 seconds, the charger is running at an optimal level. We're running performance analytics. We're running unique algorithms to make sure that each experience is as delightful as the last and as delightful as it's going to be for the next individual that comes along. So for us, this is such an important point to note because we want to make it easy for everybody that arrives at one of our stations. And in many ways, they're our guests. The drivers are our guests.
That's outstanding. And I mean, you're taking care of payment, you're taking care of cost, you're taking care of value add, you're creating an experience. This is an outstanding way for really any organization who is trying to forecast out and try to figure out what's next to really start planning and understanding where the costs, the benefits, et cetera, lie if they haven't started already. And I guarantee almost everybody's thinking about this at one point in time or the other. So one question I do have, right, is kind of the outlook. You mentioned Wi-Fi earlier. And I remember when Wi-Fi was something that people occasionally asked about, but you still had the hardwired ports in the room and whatever, up until literally 5 or 6 years later, people wouldn't stay at your hotel if you didn't have, awesome Wi-Fi, not just Wi-Fi, but like great Wi-Fi. Where's the arc on EV right now? Is this something that's going to have a shorter, longer adoption arc? Just from where you sit, what do you think?
I think it's going to come a lot faster and a lot harder than Wi-Fi, right? Because when you thought about Wi-Fi, you walked into a hotel, and at first, when they had Wi-Fi, you were like, wow, this is really nice. This is great. But then there came a moment where Wi-Fi was a necessary piece of the equation of your stay. And if they didn't have it early on, you would get a little frustrated. Maybe you didn't send that email. Maybe you had to connect through an Ethernet, and maybe there were other pieces. But it was fine, generally speaking. EV charging is not going to be like that because range anxiety is a thing. And the fact that you might get stuck somewhere is just a psychological level of impact that is not aligned to Wi-Fi. Maybe in today's Wi-Fi, if you don't have Wi-Fi, it's game over. But EV charging is rapidly getting to that point because you're going to have things like range anxiety, and you're going to have even things like secondhand range anxiety. I mean, imagine you're on a business trip and your colleagues are going to be worried that you might get stuck. Your wife might be worried. Your spouse might be worried. Your partner might be worried. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. And I think it's really important for people to realize that this is very much a need to have. And as a result of it, when we look at the economic outlook of what's happening, this is going to be quite a serious component of the way we build hotels and operate existing ones.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about the economic component, right? I mean, there's obviously a lot of economic pressures out there. I think everybody can understand that, the financial outlook is definitely cloudy right now. Let's talk about, your financial outlook from this perspective. I mean, do you see this space being impacted greatly by, let's call it a recession, or do you feel like this is an industry that's going to persevere and is going to actually grow regardless of what's coming?
It's a great question. Obviously, we are watching the markets very closely, just like everybody else, both companies in the public and private space. But at the end of the day, what we fundamentally believe is that this is very much a necessary component. This is a need to have, not a nice to have. I mean, when you think about so many different products and services across multiple industries, this is something that you got to have. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but it's kind of like that lipstick theory in economics where I don't know if you've heard this or not, but a lot of times in a recession, people will still buy lipstick, right? Because it's that one thing that's going to make them feel good. EV charging, while it's not necessarily feel good, but it's necessary because if you don't have it, you can't plug in. You're not going to be able to move around. You're not going to be able to charge your car. You're not going to be able to attract new guests. You're not going to be able to retain the existing ones. So, you could argue that it's very much shielded from the economic turbulence that could be coming down the pipe.
That's outstanding. I think that, as you're painting this picture, it's one of those things where if it's not on the top of mind for franchise owners, hoteliers, other members of the hospitality community, I think you've just made everybody think because, now it's extremely accessible. Not only that, but it fits in with my service ethos. And also, it sounds like a lot of the liability has been taken off just by the way you've built it. So kudos to you and the team. This sounds like an absolutely awesome platform.
I appreciate it. And, hats off to the wonderful work my co-founder is doing on the product innovation side. Aaron Fisher has been amazing in that regard. And he and I understand the importance of security in all of this too. And I think that's an important point to note as well. We want to build a platform that can test the challenging waters of security, right? I mean, so many companies have been breached, but yet we take the highest standard of security in our process, and we're really proud of that.
That's awesome. So we focused a ton on hotels here, right? And that's my natural background. And that's why I always gravitate towards. You've got your hospitality vertical right now, your hotel vertical, right? You just launched the Hotel Cloud. What other verticals are you part of right now?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, commercial workplace is a big vertical for us. I mean, we have wonderful customers like Nuveen, to many others in that space. Multi-unit dwellings, that's a wonderful space for us as well. I mean, we have customers like MJW Investments and many others that are in the space. And also arenas, right? I mean, that's a big piece, in casinos. It's sort of in the hospitality space. But at the end of the day, we want to deploy chargers wherever people go, from public parking garages. I mean, Millennium Garages in Chicago is one of our customers. So if you arrive at Grand Park North and you're underneath the bean and you need to plug in, you're going to use one of our chargers, and we're really proud of that. So the diversity of our customer base keeps compounding, which underscores the importance of this across so many different industries, so many different sectors, and the use cases. And because we're an open API and we're verticalized our software for each of the respective sectors, we've seen tremendous growth. In fact, in Q1 of this year, we saw 209% growth, which is remarkable. And we look forward to maintaining that speed and velocity within the sector for us.
That's outstanding. I think one of the things I've learned throughout post-pandemic life is the hospitality sector is a lot bigger than people realize. It's everything from museums to hotels to stadiums to you name it. And I think everybody is staring down the barrel of what to do about this. And now that the markets are relatively recovering, I mean, people are traveling, people are going to shows. You talk to anybody at a country club and they'll tell you they've got a waiting list a year too long. This is a really exciting time. And now people are starting to look ahead. So this sounds like an absolutely wonderful technology. I really hope anybody who's listening is really taking note here, because Hooman, you and the team have really made it. I hate to knock on wood here, but you seem to have made it really easy to kind of get on the front end of this.
And that's our goal, is to make it easy and seamless and frictionless. And that's how we're going to get people comfortable with the electrification that's happening and support all these wonderful initiatives that are happening at the state, local, and federal level.
That's awesome. Well, I can tell you, as we look ahead, obviously this is an amazing technology, and I think there's going to be a high level of adoption here. One of the things we always like to talk about, right, is there's a whole nother really ecosystem of leaders that are being brought into and built in this post-pandemic world that we're in right now. You know, as somebody who's had multiple startups and somebody who is, very much in the space now, do you have any advice for future leaders that are coming into this crazy post-pandemic world and really how to be successful?
Yeah, you bet. I think it's important to note that, a lot of people try to spend a lot of time thinking about, how do I come up with something so revolutionary? There is a lot of value in simplicity. If you think about every wonderful company that touches our lives on a regular basis now, Apple, Uber, Salesforce, they've simplified so many components of our lives and made it really easy for us. And I think just perfecting an existing model and simplifying it is critical. I think for us, we focused a lot of our innovation on the software side, right? Because the hardware in many ways can be arguably a commodity. I mean, it's a lot like the
Right.
TV. You remember you walked into a Target, and the TV was thousands of dollars. Now you can buy a great TV for a fraction of that price. So for us, we think that the software, the connectivity, the cloud technology that we have that's tied to the hardware in our platform, that's our unique identifier. And for all those future leaders out there that are thinking about things, just figure out how you can simplify a process and deliver value. Because if you can create a product that's simple, that's innovative, and delivers value, you can truly change the world.
That's awesome advice. That's a very unique perspective and incredible advice. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of benefit out of that. Hopefully everybody's listening. So, Human, if people are interested in learning more about EVPassport, where are they going? And if they're looking to sign up today, where are they going?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, obviously, please feel free to visit our website at evpassport.com. Follow us on LinkedIn, on Twitter at EVPassport, or just, email us at info@evpassport.com. We have our revenue and sales team around the country. We're in 23 states and 2 countries, right? So we're here to help and support you in any way we can. And at the very least, if you just want to say, hi or hello, we're here to welcome you.
Awesome. That's that wonderful customer service. So very excited, Hooman. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I look forward to connecting again in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's been an absolute pleasure.